we have another TV spot and featurette on Avatar Fire and Ash, giving us some new scenes to look at, but some of them might be diving into deep spoiler territory. Avatar Theory here, hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day. And yesterday, Rotten Tomatoes released a TV spot roughly 40 seconds long, and they also released a featurette which is about 1 minute and 40 seconds. Now both of these shows a lot of clips that we've seen before, but sprinkled in between are some teasers or some glimpses giving us a new look at the movie, confirming some theories and, like I said, heavy potential spoilers for the movie. If you don't want anything spoiled for Avatar Fire and Ash, then you may want to come back to this video later on, as purely looking at these clips, there's actually a lot to take away. Now firstly, I will look at the TV spot, but later on I will kind of combine clips from the featurette with the TV spot, as like I said, it does confirm a lot of theories. Now the TV spot opens showing us a shot of Neytiri, which we've seen before, followed by Varang, again, we've seen this before. Then it moves on to a shot of Jake and Neytiri with the great Leonoptrix behind him, and then we see Loak and Tsireya on top of the Ikran flying towards the Wind Raiders. And then we just see the shot of Neytiri closing her eyes, likely as Jake arrives on the Great Leonoptrix, because you can see all the Na'vi in the background turn sideways, but Neytiri smiles looking up. Then we see that beautiful shot of the Tulkuns, and then we see a brand new shot of the Ash Clan, seeing them celebrate, doing some sort of ritual with the fire in the background, and you can actually see Varang standing right there next to them, enjoying, well, whatever music is playing here and the celebration that's happening. And interestingly, one thing I noticed about the shot is, of course, it takes place during nighttime, but you can see there the plants in the background are lit up with bioluminescent lights, and we know that the Ash Clan village has no plants, has no life. We know it's a very dry and dead area, so this clearly does not take place at the Ash Clan village. Then it cuts to a shot of Quaritch and Varang, followed by the Metkayina village being set alight, something we've seen before, and then that epic shot of Jake and Neytiri with all of the Ikrans behind them, and then a quick glimpse of Neytiri and Loak, and then the TV spot jumps to a bunch of clips, and these clips are literally about half a second long at most, whereas the first one is Jake arriving at the Metkayina clan with the Great Leonoptrix, Varang using a flamethrower, and then we see our first look at the Ta'anui clan, which we last saw in the Way of Water being tortured by Quaritch, and we can see there Olo'ektan riding a skimwing, looking pretty damn epic as they ride into battle. And then a quick glimpse again of Jake hugging Spider without a mask. And then this is probably one of the biggest giveaways or spoiler shots in the TV spot in my opinion, because I've speculated initially since the first trailer dropped that the intro sequence is likely some sort of sequence between Loak and Neteyam. Then we see a second Ikran fly in, and initially when I saw this in the cinema I was thinking maybe it's Tuk or Kiri, but now that I can pause the trailer it does look like Neteyam. So I am guessing that Loak is revisiting a memory, as he is probably at the Cove of the Ancestors, or this is just a flashback scene, one of the two, but I do think this is most likely Neteyam. And you can see here in this shot that there's an Ikran in the background, floating mountains, and Loak of course, but the person in front of him is a clear dead giveaway that it is Neteyam. I mean, looking at the picture, you can see that the headpiece is the same, the hair, the beads, everything, this is clearly Neteyam. And Loak hugging him is also an indication that this is likely taking place in the spirit world. And again, I do wonder why they put this in the trailer, because this is quite a big spoiler, at least in my opinion. And then as the TV spot moves on, we get a quick glimpse of Kiri with this purple light, and then we see her reaching out to another hand, which I will go into more detail with in a bit, because the featurette shows this a little bit longer, but we can see that it is clearly Kiri on the left side based on the outfit and well, you can see her face, so it is Kiri reaching out to somebody, and that person definitely has 4 fingers. And then the trailer quickly cuts to Jake on the Great Leonoptrix taking down a gunship, where it cuts to the title Avatar Fire and Ash. Now, like I said, the featurette, which is about 1 minute and 40 seconds long, also shows a lot of footage that we've seen before, and it is quite an interesting interview with some of the cast, and I recommend you watch it, of course with the idea in mind that there are potential spoilers in there, but I'm only going to focus on some of the new shots in that featurette, and one of the new shots is where we can see the Metkayina flying on the Ikrans towards the ocean, likely gathering for the final battle, because we've seen in another shot Skimwings and Ikrans together, so this is likely the Metkayina rallying together. Then we get a shot of Jake on top of an Ikran in front of the Wind Raiders, and although we've seen this image from Empire magazine quite a while ago, this is the first time I believe that we see it in a trailer or featurette. And then we just see the shot of the RDA arriving at the Cove of the Ancestors with that purple light going upwards, which we know based on the fight between Jake and Quaritch causes all sorts of chaos. And then it quickly shows us Loak on top of an Ilu underwater, and then again Loak on an Ikran in front of the Wind Raiders wearing his rider pants. And then as the featurette continues, it also confirms another theory I had when I broke down the second trailer, and that is how the Medusoid explodes.
Then it transitions to Varang shooting a fire arrow, and although the trailer makes it out to seem like she is shooting the Medusoid, making it explode, I don't think that is the case. You see, if you look at the explosion that happens on the Medusoid, you can see some sort of smoke trail happening, almost as if a flaming ship is crashing down on top of it, and then you can also see there are 3 Na'vi lying next to it, looking very dead to me, and I do think that it was an Ikran, an Ash Clan Ikran, that essentially crashed into the Medusoid, causing it to explode.
And in this shot you can clearly see that it is an Ikran on fire falling down into the Medusoid, which causes it to explode. And you can actually see that Varang is at the top there, thus if she was the one to shoot it that caused the explosion, she would have needed to shoot downwards, not straight. Then we just get a quick glimpse of Jake and Quaritch again. This is a new angle of their fight. It seems like Quaritch is about to throw a punch, and then again it shows us Kiri holding somebody's hand, or at least somebody grabbing towards Kiri, but it shows somewhat of an extended look at it, and just based on this featurette you can see that the forearm of the person grabbing Kiri is quite short, and the shot that follows this shows Spider, Kiri and Tuk connected to the spirit tree, all of them connected at once. And like I said, considering that this is not a human arm, it is clearly hinting that this arm could be Tuk. Not only that, if you go back to this shot, you can see here that it almost seems like Kiri is reaching out to Tuk, further hinting that this is them in the spirit world. Again, I'm purely basing this off of the TV spot and the featurette, and I really do wonder why they showed this, as I wish they kept this for the movie. Now going on to the final closing bit of the featurette, we can see here Neytiri with the Manquan paint, which we've seen before, but here you can see she's about to shoot an arrow with an explosive tip, and you can see her releasing it, followed by a quick explosion. And I previously speculated that this is likely Neytiri, and based on the way the trailer is cut, it is hinting strongly that this is her attacking Bridgehead, because you can also see in the shot that follows, she turns around and look back, and then looking forward. And considering this shot has light bouncing off her from the front, almost like light from an explosion, it strongly hints that this is Neytiri at Bridgehead. And considering we know that Jake gets captured by the RDA, it strongly hints that this is Neytiri trying to save Jake. Then the featurette just cuts to the title, Avatar Fire Fire and Ash. With the movie being essentially a week away, I would be careful in watching more TV spots and featurettes because, like with this one, it's starting to reveal a lot of the movie, and if you put together all of the pieces from previous trailers with these new ones, it is pretty easy to try and figure out what happens. But what I would like to know from you is, what do you think about this new TV spot and featurette, and who do you think is helping Kiri in the spirit world? Let me know in the comments below, and for more Avatar content, have a look at the rest of my channel. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.